Hello everyone and welcome back to Mirror Lake, another episode of my Planet Coaster series in which we're going to be carrying on building things in Mirror Lake. Didn't really plan that intro, but here we are, episode 4, and this is where we're going to get to building cool things, as in we're going to be building the first big roller coaster. And this is it, the Flawless Coaster, which is one of my favourite rides to build in, I was about to say Kerbal Space Program. I have literally just finished recording the commentary for this Saturday's Kerbal Space Program video. Like, I've literally just finished doing it. I'm just doing loads of commentaries all at once at the moment because I'm going away next week and I want to I don't want my channel to just stop uploading for 2 weeks. So I've just been kind of working really hard to get the next few weeks' videos sorted so I can just, you know, have a break for a couple of weeks. So you guys will still have some quality content to look forward to. So we've got a few Mirror Lake episodes and we have some Kerbal Space Program videos as well. And this is the Planet Coaster video, I guess. So this is the first big ride you can see here. Obviously we have the launched roller coaster there. This is the kind of the first tall one though. So this is the Argus. Like my Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 video, or at least my most recent Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 video, which was a while ago to be fair, so I don't know if recent is really the best term to describe that video. But yeah, we're naming all the roller coasters after my more successful, or I guess well-known. I don't like to use the word famous because I don't consider anything I do, or even myself, famous. I mean, if there's a Z list for the Z list of the Z list, I probably fall somewhere near the bottom of that. So, but to me, in my heart, they mean something, and so do these rides. So I don't know, maybe just because I'm completely devoid of creativity and couldn't really think of a good name for them. Next Planet Coaster series I do. The three of you that have been enjoying this so far, that are watching at the moment, you know, you can look forward to more Planet Coasters content, and I'll probably I'll try and be a bit more creative when it comes to the names as well. So this is the big red roller coaster for the eagle-eared among you. Should I be quiet for this bit? I mean, we're just kind of racing through at full speed. Goes without saying, I will be showing the POV for this ride in full, uncut, not sped up, with sound and everything at the end of this video, at the very end of this video, because I want to try and give you some motivation to stick through the whole thing, even though you could like totally just skip to the end if you wanted to. I'm asking you not to, because this is the first. We're building 2 roller coasters in this video. This is the first one. The second one is smaller, but it's very cool as well in its own way. Like, it's different. It's cool in a different way. This one's really cool. We're just working on the water levels at the moment. I'm not quite sure what I was trying to achieve here. Oh yeah, that's right. I was just painting the ground. That's what I was doing. The memories just come flooding back to me now, much like how I'm flooding this lake again. Yeah, there's the folly from previous episode. Yeah, going back to this ride then here. So the eagle-eared among you may remember that a minute ago I said the eagle-eared among you, and then just went on a massive tangent without finishing that sentence. I was talking about this is the big red roller coaster, and well, the eagle-eared among you may remember. I'm going to stop saying that phrase now. May remember from the previous episode, I always try and make, when I was younger, I used to make all my roller coasters different colours. So I had one red roller coaster, one blue one yellow one black one, and I'd always try and make the red one and the black one really cool. So this is the big red one. So obviously this is one of the coolest ones. I mean, to be honest, this is probably one of my favourite roller coasters from the series. I think my favoritist, my most favourite video, most favourite roller coaster I should say, is probably the launched one. I don't know, I just like the simplicity of it. I do like this one a lot. Although that's not to say that the other roller coasters are cool. I think that technically, if I was to actually ride them in real life, the Artemis roller coaster, which will be in a future episode, not that long in the future actually, the big yellow one, that would probably be the one I'd want to ride the most in real life. But just from the whole smoothness and aesthetic, I really like this one. So if any of you remember the lore of this park and the backstory I kind of made up as I went along, we had the original estate where a big manor house was that since collapsed, but the bridge over the lake and the old gatehouse and the folly were preserved and restored for this park. The land was then bought out by some Victorian moguls who built a nice built the big Emporium as, I don't know, as like a grand hotel or something, and the Emporium Raceway Station and the railway station up there. And now it's been bought by Lowne Enterprises, the theme park company known worldwide. They are the third generation of owners, and so there's the third generation of, building styles. So we've got the very, very old, the sort of Victorian / 1920s style of architecture, and then the modern style of architecture, mainly for just the theme park ride stations and things. For this ride, I decided to not go with any real specific theming. I think that's generally true for the whole of this park, to be honest. I kind of went for a more Six Flags approach where, it's really about the rides and it's really about the rides rather than being about the theming than, say, somewhere like Disneyland I'd say is more about the actual theming and overall sort of the magic experience. And I was like, no, it's about the roller coasters. So that's kind of the approach I went here. So I thought I'd just let the actual looks of the ride itself speak for itself. It kind of has a sort of Mirror's Edge / Super Hot aesthetic. If you know the aesthetic of either of those games, which just play sort of red and white, very clean, very sort of minimalist. I thought I'd just experiment with that kind of architectural style, see what it would look like. I'm trying to get the walls to be nice and clean against this staircase. It's just not having it though. It's just not having it. I couldn't get the thing to be quite flush. But yeah, this is probably the most basic and minimalist of all the roller coaster stations. Well, I mean, I suppose the junior roller coaster that's inside the Emporium has a pretty bland station as well. But this one is probably the most simple and most plain because it was the first one I wanted. It was the first one I built, and like I say, I wanted the actual ride to speak for itself. I didn't really want it to be overshadowed by any scenery or anything. I mean, I'm using this to justify laziness, I know, but I ended up liking the way this station turned out. So yeah, I thought though I would add some windows and things just so people who maybe are a bit more afraid of the big roller coasters, or kids that can't ride it, they could wait in the waiting area there and watch their family and friends come on the station. Maybe they can take a picture from that balcony there. I don't know. Just trying to think of practical applications for this if it was a real theme park, and then we could just close off the entrance there. I couldn't quite get a piece to fit and block off that gap, so in the end I had to use a standalone sort of pillar piece. I don't think I do that here though. I think I do it a bit later. But yeah, other than that, now it's just sort of getting all the little bits all sorted. So, but yeah, the layout itself is pretty much done now, to be honest. So there's not a lot else to talk about really. I think the footage is kind of speaking for itself. But there you go. So what do you guys think? Is this too plain of an entrance? Is this too sterile? I think it looked quite well, although I did go with the red and white. So now it really does look like I'm embracing the Mirror's Edge / Super Hot aesthetic. I mean, I know this is probably more congruous with Mirror's Edge than Super Hot, but Super Hot is still a lot of white and bits of red, little splashes of red here and there. To just quickly shift that wall, and it ended up syncing up that. So that red bit actually has a practical purpose as well by removing that kind of glitchy clipping thing where the texture kind of flashes through the surface, and we can just close off those gaps with some sloped pieces. And that's pretty much the building. I mean, we need to add the roof, but in terms of walls and general layout, that's pretty much done. So the roof, again, nothing fancy, just very basic steel, and didn't go for too much of a complicated approach. I went with a mixture of flat pieces, sloped pieces, and then when it came to building the part over the cars themselves, I haven't got to that bit yet, but I went with a curved roof. So you can see how it kind of gradually gets taller and taller. Unfortunately, they didn't quite connect, so I had to sort of improvise a connection between them. So there's no, I know Silverat, what he likes to do is he builds glass roofs using the window pieces. But the thing is, you can't actually see through the window pieces, and I quite liked the idea of, light actually being able to get through. And if you look down, when you're panning the camera around, you can look down and see inside, which is why I kind of went with fences, and we can just pretend that there's glass inside those railings. And I guess we can just close off those gaps now. I'll have to build the walls up inside to be the same height as the roof as well, but I don't think I actually do that in this episode here. But I'm pretty sure I do at some point. Anyway, I'm just going to find that fence piece there to, again, seal off this little gap here that was just, left over from the rest of the building. So we get them nice aligned and then just shift them both down. And that is pretty much this ride done. I mean, we can copy that entire thing. Oh yeah, there is this one last bit actually. For this park, in my Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 parks, I tended to add a maintenance station or like a garage for when if there were two cars on the track, two trains on the track I should say, one could be put into the maintenance shelter when it needed having repairs done, or if the park was on a quiet day and we wanted to save a bit of money by only running one train, there would be a garage there. I think in future Planet Coaster parks going forward, I will start doing that now, but a lot of the purpose of Mirror Lake was just to try and help me teach myself how to use the building tools, because up until now, in my previous Planet Coaster video, I've never done a series, but in my previous standalone video where it just showed me building the entire park, obviously that was only one video, so there was more pressure to kind of get it built in quite a quick amount of time relatively. I say relatively quick amount of time. It was about 17 hours, which in Planet Coaster is a start for any theme park. So I had to go very light on the buildings. A lot of it was using custom-made stuff, either from the workshop, or most of it was just the stuff that came built in with the game. The stuff built by Frontier, the developers of Planet Coaster. Whereas this time I wanted to experiment more with doing custom scenery. That's why the first few episodes of this series have basically been dedicated to actually constructing buildings. I mean, yeah, we've had the launched roller coaster and the junior roller coaster, but other than that, it's been very, very scenery focused. But I think going forward, most of it's now going to be about the rides, because, like I said, it's the original owners were the people that had the manor house, and so that's kind of an old style that takes a lot of effort to get all the details for. And same for the Art Deco, 1920s Victorian. I need to settle on a time period, because 1920s and Victorian are not the same, but that kind of period of time, again, that's usually quite detailed. It takes a lot of effort. Now we're on to the modern generation buildings. They're very quick to build, and I don't think I actually built any more 1920s style buildings. Actually, no, I do in this episode, so I do tell a lie there, but I will skip ahead most of it, because a lot of it was just building one wall and just adding little tweaks to that one wall and cloning it a bunch of times, so you're not missing much. So I will probably skip through a lot of that building process. But now we're just adding a few final touches just by dirtying the ground around the supports. Just a little thing I like doing to add a little bit of realism. So you can see I don't know if you saw it just then, we kind of went over a little hole just there. That's because when I was experimenting with roller coaster designs, I tried out one that burrowed into the ground beneath the lake, but it ended up looking a bit weird and unrealistic, so I got rid of it. But that hole is still there. That's just a legacy of a failed experiment, that hole. But there we go. That's pretty much, well, that's the Argus. So now we can get on to the second ride. This is the black roller coaster, and for the eagle-eared monkey, you may have heard me say that I used to always make the black and red roller coasters the best ones in the game, and while that's best ones in the park. Now, while that's probably true for the red one, the black one, I wouldn't say is anything to write home about, to be honest. I mean, it's very cool in the sense that it's a dark ride. It's going to be indoors, so I'm plotting out the layout of the building now by using these paths, and then we're going to build the building kind of inside this square, and the building is going to contain a small roller coaster. But it's a pretty good roller coaster, I think, and it's called Revenge, and Revenge is the class of space planes that really kind of were in the beginning, early stages of my channel. Like 1.0 had just dropped, and nobody knew how to build SSTOs. Even like literally nobody was building SSTOs at all. There was even debate about whether they were even possible to be taken beyond LKO. I was really, really determined to get an SSTO working, and I was just trying for ages, and I literally just, at the time, I was like, it's just not possible. So I made a space plane that had a drop tank, so it would fly up to a certain altitude, drop a tank, so it had like an external tank that would then get dropped and parachuted to land safely in the ocean, and then it would go and do a flyby of the Mun. It was designed for tourism missions. I actually really liked that video. It got blocked in the USA on its first upload because it used Cliff Richard's Summer Holiday, which apparently they don't like it when you use that in YouTube videos because it gets blocked in pretty much every country other than the UK, so no great loss. But yeah, that's why I had to, if you ever watch that video, the first few frames say now unblocked in the US. That's because the first time I tried uploading it, it was blocked in the US. But you know, I really like that video for what it was. Very simple, but obviously technology, in massive air quotes there, has moved on since then. So I don't really know what I'm trying to get at here, but yeah, that's this is named after that, the Revenge class. So yeah, you can see very much having to work within the restraints of this square. So I actually increased the size of the shift chain hill there. So this is kind of one of the best rides for doing that in terms of making compact rides that are also quite, fun still. So there's a lot of inversions, very, very twisty. I got to the point where, I probably couldn't add much more track at this point. So I was trying to find a way of, bringing it back to the station at this point. So yeah, looping it around here, swinging it around, and there we go. We've managed to get it back. So we can add some brakes there. Luckily, the friction brakes are very diverse and can be added on track going around very steep corners. So that should slow the trains down sufficiently. And then we can just do a nice turn to the station. There we go. That's pretty much Revenge. So again, there will be a POV at the end of this. But like I say, this is a dark ride, so I may as well show you the POV once we've built the building. The building itself is nothing particularly special because, again, I wanted it to be part of the 1920s Art Deco generation of owners. So it's going to be a very traditional style building, but then just inside. So you think, oh, look, it's like a traditional style building. But then you go inside and there's just a massive roller coaster inside. I thought it was quite cool. Or at least I thought it would be quite a cool concept to do. So that's going to be that. I mean, I don't know what I'm getting at here. So yeah, we're just doing some final smoothing because when you're building rides this compact, they tend to be quite jerky and things until you smooth them all out. So yeah, I'm being very, very liberal with the amount of smoothing I'm doing. And then I noticed there was enough room to actually add a flat ride. So I went with the Meteorite just because it ended up looking quite... I think I experimented with a few others, but I did go back to the... Is it the Meteorite? The 360-degree swinging thing? This thing here? So there we go. Beautiful. And I thought it looked quite cool because it kind of, at first glance, it looks like it could potentially be part of the roller coaster, even though it takes like 1 second to debunk that. I think it just at first glance, it looks like it's part of it. So there, shoot me. Okay, so now we can just build out the queue line. I ended up going a little bit overkill with it, actually. At first, I thought I could just turn this thing round to the left and then loop it back, but I couldn't make it go underneath the track. So in the end, I had to kind of make it weave its way around all the track supports, going to the thinnest available path width at one point, just to get it to fit through all the coaster supports. So it took a little bit of trial and error to weave my way through, but we managed to find a way. We managed to find a path through the chaos, and there we go. And then we'll just quickly add a path for the flat ride as well. So yeah, I went with the blue path once again just to make it match up with the queue line. I've been using the blue path a lot anyway, but the reason I was using blue path in particular for the inside of this building was because the building itself is going to be kind of a blue and white color. No reason, I just thought that looked like a nice fusion, really. And there we go. So again, we'll just use the blue path. I don't know why I'm using the cobblestone. There we go. You see, past Matt, he learns. And, well, that's pretty much the inside of this building done. Oh yeah, the square path tool failed me, so I had to quickly reconstruct it. But there we go. I actually haven't been on that many dark rides in real life. The only one I've actually been on is the Mummy at Universal Studios, in both Universal Studios LA and Universal Studios Florida, or Orlando, I guess if we're being specific, more specific. And they've been really fun, actually. But ultimately, like, dark rides, I feel like they're just... You can never be quite as cool as just open air rides because you are limited to the fact that the building is only a finite size and you can't really build... enormous. I mean, I guess in theory you could build a building that would, envelop something like Millennium Force, but that would be ludicrously expensive and it would break several world records in the process. There's just no need for it, mate. And I think part of it is that's like a thing that's coming into fashion, isn't it? It's virtual reality roller coasters. Like there was that one at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Oh, what's it called? I've no idea, but it's a virtual reality roller coaster. And same for Alton Towers now. They've got rid of Air. Well, they haven't got rid of Air, but they've renamed Air to Galactica. And it's now you have to wear a virtual reality headset. And, like, whilst that's a cool concept, I think, why? Like, surely the experience just doesn't beat the fact that you're... Especially with Air, the whole thing about that, it's a flying roller coaster. It's one of the first flying roller coasters. And whilst... in terms of its actual scope and scale, it's nowhere near as impressive as something like Manta is at SeaWorld. it's really fun because you constantly just swoop close to the ground and over the crowds and then on your back, and you're suddenly staring at the sky, and then it flips back down and you're staring at the grass, and it feels like you can almost reach out and touch all the leaves and things on the trees, and it's really fun. And that was the big appeal of that ride. That's what made that ride so fun. And I just think that adding sort of virtual reality, like even what's the big one at SeaWorld as well, Kraken at SeaWorld, amazing ride at Orlando. That's now a virtual reality roller coaster as well. And I just think that part of the reason I really like roller coasters is because you're looking around, like especially when you're going up the lift hill, you just think, oh my god, I'm looking down, I'm so high up already, and I look back forward and there's still half the chain hill left to go. A great example of that being the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And I feel like a lot of that would be lost in virtual reality. Like, okay, maybe it'd be really cool. I've never tried virtual reality in either a video game capacity or for a roller coaster capacity. Not that the two are equatable at all. I'm totally on board with the idea of virtual reality in video games, especially for things like Elite Dangerous or racing games. I feel like that's the future. That's something I'd really like to do. I mean, my PC can handle it. I've got a 980 Ti in there. But at the moment, the cost of entry is just so high, and I just don't think there are enough games that support it right now for it to be a worthwhile investment. I don't really want to be part of the first generation of any sort of beta or any new technology. Like if you look at how the Sony PlayStation Move improved upon the Wii controller in quite a lot of ways, and then the Wii Motion Plus came out. I mean, motion controllers are a bad example because they're just awful across the board, but Anyway, let's go back to discussing what I was talking about before I kind of got onto the virtual reality tangent. Dark rides, I think they're good as a thing, but just having them in absence of full size roller coasters, I think a normal roller coaster that's outdoors and things will always be better than a dark ride, just because it doesn't have to work with the same restrictions. That's my 2 cents on it. But I kind of wanted to build one. I mean, this is the only dark ride here. I mean, unless we count the roller coaster inside the Emporium. And do we count the launched one? I mean, most of that is outdoors, so I guess we can just discount that as an indoor ride. Anyway, you can see here we're just cloning that wall around just to build the sides of this thing here. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, obviously the big dark rides are things like the Rock and Roller Coaster and Magic Mountain. Magic Mountain? Is that what it's called? Space Mountain, that's the one. I've not been on either of those, but I have been on Expedition Everest, to be fair. I don't know if that's really a true dark ride, because I'd say most of it is outdoors, but there is a big indoor section, and that was pretty cool, to be fair. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's just my 2 cents on the subject. Yeah, and same thing for virtual reality. I mean, have any of you actually been on a virtual reality roller coaster? Because I think if I were going to go back to Alton Towers, I would still opt to not have virtual reality on air. I feel like something like Rita, or even like 13, would be far more suited to virtual reality, just because those two are more conventional roller coasters in the sense that you're just sitting in a chair, and there's not that much in the way of scenery to look at. I mean, maybe 13 is a bad example because it has, if you've never been on 13, I won't spoil what the thing is, but it has a very, very unique gimmick about it. That's 10 times more fun when you don't know about it. Thanks, BBC News. What's that update you just gave me to interrupt my phenomenal quality commentary? God's sake. So rude. So inconsiderate of BBC. This is why you got to support the creators on YouTube, guys, because mainstream media, it's the enemy. Look, I'm being sabotaged, right? I'm being sabotaged. My video of me downing a bottle of Jack Daniels got demonetized. It had 400 views. I lost like a good £1,000, according to what a lot of my skeptics think YouTubers make. I mean, I don't earn. I earn next to nothing on YouTube, so I don't know why there's this big misconception that YouTubers are all making, bank, because people just look at what PewDiePie makes and think PewDiePie has like insane amount of views. Like I don't do too badly. I have at the time of recording this, I think I have about 11 million views. But a lot of that is unmonetizable because I used copyrighted music for a lot of the beginning of my air quotes career on this website. Don't really like to use the word career because I feel like that makes it out to be more than what it really is, which is it's a livelihood. I can't really call it a hobby because I do get paid for it now, but a livelihood I think is a good way to describe it. So yeah, I just kind of time warped through, you know, finishing off a lot of that roof because I don't know how enthralling it is to just watch me duplicate things over and over. You can see in the background there, I was just duplicating things there and deleting parts to get all the bits I would need to duplicate. And then we can just go around just finishing off the top of this roof. And, well, I think this building turned out pretty nicely. So I guess the muse for this would be something like the Winter Gardens or something. I don't know. Just kind of typical 1920s, 30s kind of style of building, I suppose. Don't know, I didn't really put much thought into it, just kind of thought it looked nice. And went with it. I never really draw anything out beforehand, but I always try and have a clear picture on my head of what I want something to look like before I go ahead and build it. Same thing with Kerbal Space Program, really. Although Kerbal Space Program, I tend to, when I'm at work and patients aren't arriving, I'll tend to just sit there just doodling layouts for ships, like my Joule 5 ship, for example. That video was quite a long time ago now, actually. And the Expedition Eve ships, in particular, the space station and things. I just sort of doodled them all out before I had. So when I came to building them, I could just work from a design. It made it a little bit easier when it came to designing them. But other things like the Junior Attacks ships were pretty much just built on the fly. Was that a pun? Is that really a pun? I don't know. Flying Kerbal Space Program. I guess we could say that's a clever thing to say, right? Yeah, we can just finish off the rafters here. I mean, this building, I think it looks nice from the outside. The inside does look a little bit naff because the roof has no supports. And, you know, I couldn't really bother. So maybe we could say this was actually one of the prefab things that the third generation owners built, but they had all the modern building styles to have strength without needing internal support structures, but also were sort of faithful to the style of the original buildings. I don't know. You guys can come up with a lore. I don't really put that much thought into it. So we're using the gingerbread cottage decorations, just lay them out on the floor, and we just shift them in to make kind of like a sort of fake, well, I guess not fake, just real thatched window pieces. We could just pretend there's glass in there. We're going to skip ahead because it was quite a long, drawn-out process. But in the end, I thought it ended up looking quite nice. So you can just duplicate all that down. And then once we've done this side, we'll just duplicate the whole thing across. I won't make you sit and watch me duplicate the entire thing, but we can just show kind of little bits of me doing the top here to illustrate what's going on there. And then, well, look at that. I don't know about you guys, but I think that turned out pretty nice. You can just drag and select the whole thing and then just delete as needed. And then copy and paste. We did lose a strip of windows there randomly, so we can just quickly duplicate those and shift them down. But I think that looked pretty nice. I won't bother showing it here because it was long drawn out, but I did fill in the other windows as well. You know, the little square ones. I did end up filling those in with the thatching as well, but I think you guys aren't dumb. You get the gist of it. You don't need to see that again. So I guess we can just call it there in terms of this ride's construction. So it's actually one of the biggest buildings, if not the biggest building in this park so far, bigger than the Grand Emporium. So I think overall it looked pretty good. We can do some quick tweaks, but I suppose other than that, I can just stop talking now and we can go ahead and ride it. And there we go. And as you can tell, I hadn't quite finished doing bits of the scenery. Like, I still hadn't added the thatching to the blue windows, and things like lighting and bins and benches and all that on the internal paths hadn't been implemented at that point. But I didn't have any recorded POVs of when I'd added it. And if I went and recorded it now, you guys would kind of see all the other things in the park. And I want that to be a surprise. I know I've been teasing it with the intro images to these videos, but you know, I want it to remain a little bit ambiguous. So didn't bother showing that, but anyway, we'll ride the ride that I'm sure most of you would probably rather watch, and that is the Argus. We can just fast forward the lift hill though, because you probably don't want to sit through that entire thing. And now we're at the top. I'll just shut up. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and that pretty much does wrap up what I wanted to do in this video. So there's a little tease for what's to come with more, so you can see a few more things added in this park here, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit ambiguous. There's some terraforming there you've not seen yet, and also some trees, and you might see some rides in the background, but other than that, not much has been given away in this shot. I think that makes it nice, quite a nice thing here. Nice little shot. So on screen, obviously, left-hand video is previous episode, right-hand video is the next episode. Links to Twitter, Patreon, all of that in the description. And, well, thank you for watching.